and welcome in to another episode of Kellen on the Mic, a college basketball podcast powered by the Garage Door Sports Network, and a college basketball podcast who, like Duke, UCLA, Kentucky, UNC, and Kansas, is also not ranked in the top 25. Welcome in, and we're excited to talk another week of college basketball. NFL's done, so everybody's looking for a new sport to get into, so why not make it college basketball? And we'll start, as we always do, with the Forest Five.
Run, Forest, run! Run, Forest!
Now, I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm also not ranked in the 25. Do you know who is also not ranked in the top 25? And we're calling it Bloodbath Monday, because Monday marked the first time since December 18th, 1961, since UCLA, Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, and Kansas have all been ranked outside the top 25 AP poll. I mean, my dad was just being born at that point, so it's a pretty crazy stat. UCLA and Kansas, they should still comfortably make the tourney. But Kentucky and Duke, I mean, Kentucky is for sure on the way outside. They look like they need a miracle SEC tournament win, and Duke is looking that way too. They lost a bad one to Notre Dame on the weekend, and it's not looking good in Coach Kellen there, and UNC, who many thought would be safe, they've been on a struggle of late, and they're sitting right on the bubble kind of for an at-large bid. So again, I hate to keep harping on it but it's one of the biggest stories of college basketball. I mean, it seems fit that we get an unprecedented college basketball season in an unprecedented year. I know everyone's sick of hearing that word unprecedented, but again, it's these are the storylines that make up the big headlines in college basketball because of how big the teams are. And I will mention all these teams, they should be fine next season. They'll recruit, they'll get transfer portal players, they'll get some of the best. Kentucky already has probably maybe one of the top prizes from the transfer portal, and Oscar Tshiebwe from West Virginia. He's already committed to play for Coach Cal next year. So, I mean, we'll see what they look like next year. It probably will be completely new rosters for a lot of them, but seems like this year we might have a tourney without some of the biggest names. So it could be interesting. Now, next, we have to have some apologies to Drake basketball, because last week we jinxed them. It might have been a little overshadowed by a certain other game on Sunday called the Super Bowl, but Drake actually had their first loss on Sunday to Valparaiso, 74-59. Wasn't a great look for Drake, but I mean, again, they probably weren't going to go undefeated this week, so maybe the loss comes at a good time. And if you look at it, if you're a Drake fan, bad or good news for Drake, they actually have a chance to make a statement this weekend with back-to-back home games against the Loyola Chicago Ramblers, which was the team we mentioned again with Drake last week. They're both in the Missouri Valley Conference. Loyola Chicago, again, if you remember them, 2018 Final Four run, Sister Jean. They are actually currently ranked number 22 in the AP poll, but this is danger zone for Drake, because even if they were undefeated, but if they happen to lose both of these games against Loyola, especially if they're bad losses, their at-large bid becomes a major question mark. They don't have a lot of great wins on their resume right now, just playing in the conference they have. So if they lose two, they lose 3 games this weekend, and they don't win the Missouri Valley, their tournament chances get a little shaky here. So we'll see what it looks like. And if you're looking for a long shot NCAA tourney winner with some great odds right now, look no further than the Ramblers, because again, they got Sister Gina on their side. If they win both against Drake this weekend, those odds will go significantly down. They're 22 in the AP poll. So if you want to throw a long shot bet out there that would have a great return, I'd get on it right now before this weekend. Now, moving on, we have a new number 1 seed alert, and we got to give some love to the Ohio State Buckeyes, led by EJ Liddell. They are the newest to jump into the top 4 of the AP poll. They're actually ranked number 3. They jumped up a few spots, and they're playing their best basketball right now. We haven't given a lot of love to them on this podcast, but they deserve it, and especially Liddell, he's averaging 14.9 points, 6.8 rebounds, 1.3 blocks. He was just one of the eight Big Ten players to be named to the 30-player Naismith midseason team. And it comes just 1 week before a huge rivalry game between the number 3 ranked Buckeyes and the number 4 ranked Michigan Wolverines. Now, we'll see what happens this week, but if both those teams win all their games heading up to next weekend, whoever wins that game will pretty much almost set themselves up for a number 1 seed. So it could be huge, but we'll have more on that game next week. Now, we got to give some Canadian content update, and we got to give some love to Marcus Carr because he was clutch last night. Now, was it a bank? Maybe, but who cares, because the Golden Gophers needed it. They lost 3 of their last 4 heading into last night's game. Their tournament resume was taking some huge hits. But down 2 with 20 seconds to go, the Toronto-born point guard banked one from way downtown to give Minnesota the win, and a much needed win against Purdue. Maybe a little bit of the barn magic is back, because once again, it came. We discussed the Minnesota barn earlier. They can't win away from the barn, but they can win at it. So we'll see if they can actually win some tournament games, but it was a huge win for the Gophers, and it came on the back of a Canadian. So we always got to give love there. Now, top 16 watch. We are lastly on the Forest 5. We got top 16 watch, because we will finally get the question answered this weekend about who the committee really has as their number 1 seed. Because on Saturday, much like college football does, but they do it almost every week for the last few weeks of the college football season, but the committee that decides the March Madness bracket on Saturday, we will get the NCAA March Madness bracket preview. So on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS, the committee will reveal if the bracket was made right now, who the current top 16, according to the committee, would be. So we get to find out the question, who the committee actually has as their number 1 seed. Is it Gonzaga? Is it Baylor? Those are the last 2 undefeated teams. They're in a league of their own. We've discussed that enough on the podcast, but we'll see which one the committee favors right now. Not that it really should matter. We might have 2 undefeated teams heading into the March Madness bracket, and that would be an incredible storyline, especially if they were to meet in the final. But yeah, we will stay tuned for that, and we will get to see what the top 4 seeds in each region would look like if the bracket was revealed this Saturday. Now, moving on to some picks. We were 2-2 last weekend, and again, should just always pick against Kentucky, I guess, because even though they looked like they were looking better against Tennessee, the wheels fell off in the second half and they got blown out. So if you see a game against Kentucky, I would usually pick the other team. But we're not going to pick against Kentucky this week. We are going to pick the Michigan at Wisconsin game. We'll start with that. And we're going to take the Badgers +1. Now, I know I mentioned Michigan earlier. They're the number 4 team ranked in the country, but they have been on a very long COVID pause. And we have seen in the past this season what that can do to teams. Look at Texas, look at Villanova, look at Clemson. All teams that had to take a little pause. They lost some players. Texas lost their coach for a bit. And they weren't the same teams right off the bat when they came back. Now, Villanova has found their stride. Texas will be back. They'll be fine. But again, coming back, it's hard to come right back and be at your best basketball when you haven't played in competition for a while. So that's why we're going to pick Wisconsin +1 at home. Wisconsin, they need a signature Big Ten win. I think they get it here. Take the Badgers at home +1 point. Now, going to the Big 12. I've picked against Oklahoma too many times this season, especially when they are getting their best player, Austin Reeves, back. Oklahoma's going on the road at West Virginia against Bob Huggins and the Mountaineers. But we're going to take Oklahoma +3. They might not win this game, but I think this is going to be a close battle. We'll be back and forth down the stretch. So take Oklahoma +3. I'm sick of picking against the Sooners. Boomer Sooner, Oklahoma +3 at West Virginia. Now, we mentioned Villanova as a team that didn't come back. They lost to St. John's over a week ago. Didn't look great, but they're back. I think they've shaken up the COVID rust. They won 2 straight games in convincing fashion in the Big East. They won against Georgetown by 10. Then they had a 32-point smashing of the Marquette Golden Eagles. And they're going to Creighton, and I get it. Creighton and Marcus Zagorowski, they proved the toughest test Villanova's faced so far in the Big East. But again, Villanova's looking to prove what they've got. They need a big win to get themselves back into number 1 seed contention after falling down a few spots because of their loss to St. John's. But and I think the Villanova get it done under Jay Wright. So it's basically a pick 'em. Villanova is favored by 1. Again, these are all coming from KenPom right now, so might not be the exact lines you get on your bet on your sports books, but take Villanova -1 on the road against Creighton. I think they get a big win. And finally, we have to pick the big game I mentioned earlier, Loyola Chicago versus Drake. And we're going to ride with Sister Jean and Cameron Krutwig of the Ramblers. And I think they're going to win both games this weekend. I think Drake got a little bit exposed against Valparaiso on Sunday. Confidence is a bit rattled. They're no longer undefeated. And KenPom actually has Loyola as the 15th best team in the country. Now, I know sometimes the KenPom metrics are a little skewed. You can't take everything about it. I think that might be a little high, but they are 22 ranked in the AP poll, so they are getting respect. And this team is no joke. They're a couple years removed from a big Final Four Cinderella run, so they know how to win, and I think they're going to win both games this weekend. So I think they're favored by 3 in the first one. The line might move in the second one, but if you want to be safe, take them money line, because I think they're going to get win both games this weekend. So ride with the Ramblers. That's our show for this week. We will see everyone next week. We are getting close to Selection Sunday, everybody, so get excited. College basketball is back in a big way, and if you want all your college basketball content, follow the On the Mic podcast with powered by the Garage Door Sports Network. But we will talk to everyone next week, and until then, survive and advance.